Welcome to this tutorial showing you how to create a piece of artwork in response to the artist Alexandra Bellissimo. Her work is quite eclectic, but I've chosen to respond to these two pieces in particular. And you'll see in Photopea I have already opened up a photograph of myself that I'm going to use. And the first thing I'm going to do is use the magic wand tool to select the background, then press delete to get rid of it. And I'm going to grab the rectangle select tool and just select myself, and I'm then going to use the arrow tool just to rotate myself a bit because I want a slightly better position to do my kind of effects on. Okay, you may not need to do this. Right, once I've done that, now I've got a bit too much empty space. I'm just going to use the rectangle select tool just to crop down the image a little bit. Image crop. And now I'm going to go image adjustments black and white to turn my image black and white. Click OK. And then image adjustments brightness and contrast just to whip up the brightness and the contrast a little bit just to make the image a bit more interesting. Just a tiny bit. Looking good. Okay. Right, now I want to turn my background a particular colour, so I'm just going to go a very light grey like that, and I'm going to go to new layer and I'm going to fill that layer with the paint bucket tool so it fills it with that light grey, and then drag that layer underneath so I now have a background. Okay, right, now we can start adding our effect. And I've gone and got this picture of a branch from Google, and I'm going to use the magic wand tool and make sure I untick contiguous to select all the background, so all that white is selected at once, and then I'm going to press delete and that gets rid of all of it. Okay, and I'm going to make this black and white, so image adjustments black and white, click OK. But I'm also going to make this darker, so image adjustments, brightness and contrast, and bring the brightness down. Okay, right, now I'm going to do the same to this other branch that I found on Google. Click the background, press delete, then go to image adjustments, black and white, to turn it properly black and white. And I think this is dark enough, so we'll leave it as is. Okay, right. I'm going to go back to my other branch. Now both my branches are prepared. Use the rectangle select tool to select the whole thing. Control C to copy it. Go back to here. Control V to paste it in to my image. Just going to zoom in first. Control V that in. It's just below. There it is. Okay. Right, and now I can use the arrow tool to place my first branch there. Okay. And you're going to have to get a feel for where you want your branches to come from in yours. I'm just going to make this a bit darker. Image adjustments, brightness and contrast. These things will happen, upping the contrast a bit as well. Once you get the branch in there, you'll see what you need. Then I'm going to go on right click on the layer and click duplicate layer. And that's going to allow me then to use that same branch to begin slowly creating my effect. I'm going to grab the other branch now, Control C to copy it, Control V to paste it in. And what I'm trying to do is just kind of line up the base of each branch along the line of another branch so that it's not looking like they're appearing from nowhere. It's like they're kind of growing out of each other. Okay, and rotating, flipping the branches as you use them is going to make it look like they're different branches and not like you're repeating the same thing. Also consider how you layer them. And what I'm essentially doing is kind of trying to cut off my shoulder here and make it look like there's branches growing out from the side of my face and from my shoulder. Okay, and you'll see I've just flipped that and I'm rotating it so that it looks slightly different. You You can stretch and squish, but be mindful not to stretch and squish too much. And essentially what I'm trying to do is create a edge of branches, so that when I, in a little bit, remove that bit of my cheek and that bit of my shoulder, I'm kind of going along a line of branches. Okay, I'm also obviously filling the space with more branches to make it look like they're growing out of me. And it's really just a case of right-clicking, duplicating layers, and moving them around to your heart's content, really, and layering them up. Try to be careful not to get branches too close to each other in the same way, otherwise it will look like there's some repetition. Of course, you're more than welcome to grab more branches from Google as well, more than just 2. But in this instance, 2 has sufficed, and stops things from getting too complicated with lots of different branches. But as I say, the choice is absolutely yours. Okay, just going to bring the brightness down on that one a bit. Duplicate that. Okay, looking good. Right, I've sped this up quite a lot, but you can see now that I've filled that area, and I'm going to go back to my layer with my photo on it, and using the eraser tool with quite a big brush, I'm cutting along that line of branches. You see, that's the idea of creating that kind of edge. Just made the brush a bit smaller so I can get into that corner, and then I'm just going to get rid of the rest. And there you go, a kind of hole that has been formed in me but has branches growing out of it. Okay, so that's the first bit, and I'm also going to do the top of my head with the same technique. So I'll zoom in a little bit first so I can see what I'm doing, and then I'm going to go back to our branches. I think I'm going to start with this one. Rectangle select, Control C to copy it, Control V to paste it in, and it's just sneakily down the bottom there. That's it. And same as before, kind of working out a kind of edge with our branches. So I'm going to start from either side. So duplicate that branch. I'm going to flip it over and put it on the other side of my head. Okay, and then keep duplicating and doing exactly the same thing, kind of working the branches from the other branches so that they look like they're growing together rather than branches just magically appearing out of nowhere. And working our way across my head so that I get this kind of edge of branch. Okay. You want to let the branches go wherever they naturally go when you put them together. And obviously we're building upwards as well, so making our branches go like they're growing out from my head. The flipping and stretching is definitely important to make sure that our branches aren't looking too repetitive. Okay. and rotating helps. Okay, I'm doing this quite quickly. Take your time. As I say, you could use more branches, the choice is yours. Right, now I'm going to go back to the background layer, and the same as I did before with the eraser tool, I'm just going to erase along that kind of line I've created with the branches, and then erasing all of the top of my head out. Okay, and another thing you could do if you wanted to add more branches, now that you've erased the part of your body that you want to erase, you can get more of the branches. So rectangle select tool, Control C, Control V to paste it in. And you can grab those branches and add more wherever you feel they need to be, but drop them below the layer that has your body on it. So you can create more kind of thick, dense foliage, dense branches, which is going to kind of add more interest, make the branches look that little bit more realistic, as if they're kind of growing from you. Okay, I think this will probably be the last branch that I plop in. Just having some trouble finding where I want to put it. And I've noticed that it looks very similar to the branch next to it. So what I'm going to do, once I've placed it, that looks good. I'm going to grab the eraser tool and just lop off the top so it doesn't look like the same branch. And I'm thinking that is this piece done and dusted. If I just zoom out for you, you can take a look. There you go. And that is how to create a response to the artist Alexandra Bellissimo. And this piece is done and dusted. I hope you find this tutorial helpful.